We're through 10 weeks, and it's time for another power ranking update from the Big Mountain. Who do we have as number one?
Week 10 is in the books, and we're back on the Big Mountain, where we bring you a detailed focus on the Big Ten and the Mountain West.
Hey, it's great to have you back. I'm JY. This is my good friend Steve. It's been 2 weeks since our last power rankings update. It's time to do another one. We've had a lot of movement, especially really in the middle, I think, of our power rankings. So if you're new to the channel, what we do here is we take all the Big Ten schools, all the Mountain West schools, and then we add to that 6 Pac-12 schools, 4 of them being Oregon, Washington, USC, and UCLA, the schools that are going to be joining the Big Ten. Yep. And then we've just kind of taken Washington State and Oregon State under our wings here a little bit. Yeah. We've been doing a lot of expansion videos on them, really following them a lot this year. So, hey, let's have some fun and add them to this too. So, let's start with our bottom. It'd be bottom 12. We'll kind of put this into third. So let's start with our bottom 12 here, Steve. We're not going to talk about every team, but I'll do some highlights, and then you can certainly give your thoughts. San Diego State just continually going down our board here, all the way down to 30th. They're down 3 spots from last week. I would have laughed at this rating if you would have shown this to me at the beginning of the season, or hell, even through 4 weeks. I still would laugh at it. Just unfortunately, just a huge struggle on offense for that team. Another team that's down here out of the mid-20 is Nebraska. They're actually down 6 this week. Just an up and down season there. A little bit of stinker here this past week, which is why we have them dropping. And then another team out of the mid-20 is Maryland, who slips all the way down here to 21st. They're down 7 positions here this week. So again, after, that was a team you said early on, they're going to be the worst 5-0 team. And here they sit at, what are they, 5-3, or no, 5-4, what are they? 6-3, 5-4, whatever the hell they are.
5-4, I think. Yeah.
5-4. But down into our bottom third here for them, just a struggle against Penn State there. No running game at all. No. Some teams that have moved up, Michigan State up quite a bit, up 7 positions. And Utah State up 5 after they seem to be getting their game together here a little bit, but still in the bottom third. So any team you want to talk about?
A couple there jump out at me. Michigan State, the only thing with them, I think it's more about that bottom grouping has really solidified. And, with this win over, it's not like Michigan State's done anything great, but with the win over Nebraska, they kind of maybe held up, moved up a little bit just only because their teams were dropping.
Yeah.
Maryland is one I definitely want to talk to and talk about. Yes, exactly like you said, the preseason preview, I predicted that Maryland would start at 5-0 and they'd be the worst 5-0 team in the country, and they would drop like a rock. This is what they do every year. Yeah. It's just. I mentioned this on another episode. I saw this stat recently that I think it's games in November and December since they joined the Big Ten. They're like 2-24 or 2-22 or something.
That's incredible.
It's just awful.
Yeah.
And I don't understand it fully because they showed so much promise. If you watch them the first half against Ohio State, they look like they could beat the number 1 team in the country.
Right.
And now they're just dropping like a rock. They really had nothing going on against Penn State. Their one scoring drive, it really wasn't a drive. Penn State had shut their offense down, but then had a roughing the kicker. Maryland gets the ball, short field. They managed to score a touchdown. But other than that, they had nothing going on offense. They could not run the ball at all. Talia looked okay early in the game. He was under duress, under pressure, and he was making some throws. But eventually, when you're just under duress, under pressure, running for your life the whole game
with no running game,
with no running game, you're gonna turn the ball over.
Yeah.
And honestly, I actually saw some Maryland fans blaming Talia. It's turning the ball over. How are we gonna win if he's turning? That guy's your only offense.
I was just gonna say that.
It's crazy.
Without him, they wouldn't be at 21st on this power ranking. Let me tell you.
Yeah. So, anyways, it just. You could see this coming from a mile away, and we did. I thought the line was absolutely ridiculous. Easy money, Penn State, 8.5 over Maryland, and Penn State easily covered. And, we may see Maryland drop some more, and it wouldn't surprise me. So that's all I got on this group.
All right, let's move up to our middle group. So this is going to be 11 through 20. Our biggest mover to the good, Indiana, up 8 positions out of the bottom third, up into this middle group, sitting here at 18th. just getting their game together a little bit. They had a decent game against Penn State. Very strong defense there, but so they're up quite a bit. Other movers to the upside here: UNLV up 5 and Boise State up 5, sitting right in the middle of our groups here. And then also we've got Iowa and Illinois moving up. So quite a bit of movement to the up here in this group. Some downward movement. Washington State just on a dramatic slide. I mean, I don't watch a ton of their games, but wow, they have just lost their game completely. I mean, when they beat Oregon State there at home, you're thinking, wow, this team could be something great, and that was the peak of their season, and it's all been downhill since then.
Yeah.
And then the other one, Wisconsin here down 7, so another big mover south, just eking out staying in this middle group, Wisconsin, and then 11 here, Wyoming moving out of our top 10. Obviously, they had that really difficult loss to Boise, so they just dropping out of the top 10 there in 11, but still a very solid team.
Yeah.
What do you got here?
So couple, really 2 teams. There's 3 teams that stick out to me in this group. The first 2 being Indiana and Wisconsin. Played each other this week. They're kind of at a crossroads. One trending up, one trending down. Wisconsin they were the odds-on favorite to be the Big Ten West champions this year. That's not going to happen now with this loss to Indiana. The question is, can they make it respectable going forward, or are they going to continue to drop? And Indiana, the opposite. They played really good against Penn State, and they did good things on offense. They played good defense, and I think you were surprised that I took them to cover Indiana to cover against Wisconsin. And not only do they cover, they beat them straight up.
Yeah.
So one team's trending up, one team's trending down. Those were 2 I wanted to talk about. UNLV is the other team I wanted to talk about in this group. They just keep trending up. I think you had them higher ranked than I, and I probably should have had them ranked higher than I did. I always kind of forget about them, unfortunately, because there's like that group at the top of the Mountain West, and then they're just kind of maybe a half step below that group. But I love watching them. I love their freshman quarterback. They're scoring points. They're fun to watch. They're giving people everything they can handle. So I see them continuing to trend up, especially if I pull my head out of my butt and move them up a little farther like they should be. They're going to keep on trending up. And they probably are behind that group of the Air Force, the Fresno, the Wyoming, that top group in the Mountain West. But as you've talked about, they have a lot of big games coming up, and they could be a spoiler for those. They almost upset Fresno.
Yes.
Very close game against Fresno, and they could be a spoiler to one of that top group.
And maybe not even a spoiler, maybe a legit top 3 Mountain West team. Yes. I mean, if they win these games, I wouldn't consider them a spoiler anymore, because Fresno, we'll get to our top 10 here.
Yes.
But Fresno's playing some darn good football right now.
Absolutely.
So, with that, let's get to our top 10.
Yeah,
we'll do 6 through 10 first.
Okay.
And then we'll get into our top 5. So, our 8, 9, 10 here is USC, UCLA, and Air Force. So obviously Air Force down 2, UCLA dropping slightly, and honestly, USC still sitting here at 8. I felt like coming into this, I would have them drop, but everybody below them lost games.
Worse, yes.
So yes. You can't have them drop if the people below them aren't winning. So USC's kind of sitting where they're at. Do I really think they're the number 8 team here? I mean, yeah, they got a great offense. I don't know. I guess they are. That's where we have them. I mean, you and I were fairly consistent on that 8 and 9. So
I think that it's all about expectations.
Yeah,
that's where they are. And this group of teams, they're that's just where they are. They're like 8 or 9.
Yep.
We thought coming into the season that they maybe should be in that battle for 1, 2, or 3.
Yeah.
And they're not. They're in that 8 or 9 range in our Big Mountain Power rankings. And they're probably, I didn't see the AP poll today, but I'm guessing maybe they're around 15. I'm guessing they're still ranked in the teens somewhere.
I would assume so.
Yeah, and that's just what they are. Their offense is really good. I mean, Caleb Williams still a great playmaker, but you do the thing about their offense is it can be a little one-dimensional. Mm-hmm. It rises or drops on him and his play. I thought he played really good against Washington. Washington is just better.
I agree.
And we have Washington ranked higher. USC held their own. I think they may have led a couple times, maybe in the first half.
I'm trying to remember if they did.
I
was
thinking
back
they
and
led
forth.
7-0 and maybe 14-7.
I think they did score first.
Yeah.
I think that is right.
So, I mean, they held their own with Washington, and Washington is just a better team. So, honestly, I think this is where they at. The team I worry about there is UCLA.
Yeah.
They could be in for more of a drop. You had them 8th, I had them 11th.
You did. You had them out of the top 10.
Yeah, so another loss, and we could see them be as one of those, like, it dropped 7, down 7 teams.
Yeah. A Washington State type of deal. Possibly.
Absolutely.
Maybe not quite that hard, but dropping. So next group I'm going to do, I'm actually going to go 3 through 7 next.
Okay.
Why, you ask? Because we have a tie for third.
All right.
A legit tie for third.
Okay.
So we're going to work backwards. Fresno State here, we have up 4 at 7. Moving up with another, they kind of dropped a little bit after the YO loss, but they've been showing that they are the team that, them and Air Force, probably the top 2 teams in the Mountain West right now. So they move back into the top 10 here. 6, Oregon State, staying right where we had them. Penn State at 5, staying right where we had them. We both agree on them at 5 and 6. And then a little bit of a disagreement with Washington and Oregon at 3 and 4. You had Washington 3 and Oregon 4. I had actually Oregon 3, Washington 4. Mm-hmm. I know viewers are going to say, yes, but Washington beat Oregon. How can you do that? Well, that was 3 weeks ago, and I'm now power ranking this off of current games. Sure. And I think if these two play in the Pac-12 game at a neutral site right now, I'm taking the Oregon Ducks in that game. Thus the reason I have them at 3. Their last 2 weeks have been really good. Last 3 weeks really have been really good. Washington, up until the USC win here, they've had some down games. Just not the offense, that I would have expected. So again, I look at this and I say, okay, here's 2 teams. If I put them on a Pac-12 game in a neutral site right now today, I'm taking the Ducks. That's why I had them at 3.
Yeah, and it doesn't surprise me they're tied. You and I talked about these 2 teams and that game a lot this weekend as we were watching that Washington USC game. I have Washington just a step ahead. Not really because they won that other game, because it was a close game and it was at Washington.
Yes.
I told you I think that I have those 2 teams as a coin flip.
Yeah.
We both are hoping to see that matchup again in the Pac-12 championship game. I think it'd be a great matchup.
Yep.
I think it's a coin flip. The biggest difference for me, the difference maker, and why I give Washington a slight edge, I think Bo Nix has had a really good season. I don't have anything bad to say about him. I just trust Penix a little bit more. If they get into another tight game, late game, he's got those receivers, and he's not afraid to he's not afraid to use them. He's not afraid to put the ball out there and let those receivers make plays. Whereas the last memory I have of Bo Nix in that Washington game is him throwing 2 balls in the dirt. When they needed a first down, they needed a drive, they needed to keep going. He couldn't make a play. So I just trust Penix a little bit, but I'm hoping to see the rematch of that game. I think it'll be a great Pac-12 championship game.
So let's get to our top 2. And we didn't agree this week, Steve. We didn't agree. Yeah. I kept with Michigan as my 1. You have now moved to Ohio State as your 1, so you're going to see a tie here for the Big Mountain. Mm-hmm. We've got 2 number 1 teams because we're splitting it 1 and 2 and 2 and 1. I'm staying with Michigan. They've done nothing to convince me that they shouldn't be continually my number 1. Maybe they didn't quite get over the hurdle in terms of the spread for Purdue. Yes, they have this scandal going about. I did not put the scandal into this whatsoever. I'm taking them for, as we've been saying, the football that they've been playing and how we think they're going to perform. There's just been nothing to show me that Michigan still is not my number 1. That's why I left them there.
Yeah, and again, just like the Washington-Oregon being tied, I think it's very fitting that these 2 teams are tied. We didn't discuss this ahead of time as far as what we were going to do, but I think it makes sense. These are obviously the top 2 teams in the Big Ten. Penn State has a chance this week. They came up short at Ohio State. Mm-hmm. They're hosting Michigan, and they have a chance to say, hey, this is a 3-way battle.
Right.
But for now, it looks like these 2 teams are the top 2 teams in the Big Ten. The 2 reasons, and I had Michigan at number 1 for a while there. Mm-hmm. Had Washington at one point, had Michigan, and now I'm with Ohio State for 2 reasons. One, when they're basically tied, I want to look at resume. Ohio State just has the better resume.
Yeah.
That win against Notre Dame and the win against Penn State, they just have a better resume. Michigan has played just a butter soft schedule this year. It is what it is.
Yeah.
And that's about to change when they play Penn State, and
Right.
then they're going to be playing Ohio State. So far, though, their resume so far, I think Ohio State has the edge. And then also just watching that Purdue game, and maybe it's recency bias. It's fresh in my mind.
Right.
I do feel like they don't quite have that edge that they had. There was something that looked about them off. I'm trying not to take the whole cheating scandal into effect too much,
Sure.
but it just kind of raises those doubts in my mind.
Yeah.
This is the real first test. The Michigan State game was played a few days after that came to light.
Mm-hmm.
This is where a team had more time to basically prepare and come up with new signals. So it is what it is. Michigan just looked like there was something off about them. Ohio State has the better resume, and that's why I went in that order.
Fair enough. Well, I can guarantee you, in 2 weeks,
Yeah.
they won't be tied.
Yeah,
I don't know who's going to be 1, who's going to be 2, 3, 4, 5. Who knows?
Yeah.
They're not going to be tied.
I agree.
Anyway, hey, we're going to go back over these here real quick. We'll show you from 32 all the way back up to number 1, and then we'll be back. All right, and that is where we sit after 10 weeks of football with the Big Mountain Power Rankings. We're going to have our Week 11 picks coming out here on Thursday morning. So if you are new to the channel here, we do picks every week, and we'll get our Week 11 picks out. He does all the Big Ten. I do all the Mountain West. We sprinkle in some other picks as well, usually some Pac-12.
Yeah.
Been really following the Pac-12 this year. But hey, with that, we thank you for watching. We'll see you next time on the Big Mountain.